Hello, welcome and welcome back to Gear Up. I'm your host, Marni Today on Gear Up, I'm talking about the Hoka Bondi 9. Full disclosure, Hoka sent me these shoes for review. They have not seen this video, nor are they paying me to do this video, and you are the first ones seeing it here. Before we dive in, I just want to share, in case you don't follow me on my other platforms or you're new here, I recently, in about the last 3 weeks, had PRP in my ankle because it was sprained for quite a few months. So I haven't been logging my usual miles, and as an opportunity in this kind of challenging time, especially as a runner and triathlete, I've enlisted some of my podcast, Marni On The Move podcast ambassadors to help me test out some of these shoes. So I've had someone today helping me test out these Bondi 9s. I did get a few short runs in the Bondi 9s before getting the PRP in my ankle, but I will say I've been using them to walk around and they've been awesome. All right, let's get into my experience and my ambassador's experience running, walking, and generally dialing in to the Bondi 9. The Bondi is historically one of Hoka's, and probably one of their first, max cushion shoes. They're super stable, comfy, and often on the heavier side of a running shoe. Since they have emerged onto the running scene, they've long been a favorite shoe of power walkers, walkers, and runners that want something extra in their daily trainer or even doing half marathons and marathons. Runners that maybe want a more solid ride, a more cushiony ride, something dependable, stable. That's definitely the Bondi brand. So this is actually my first time reviewing the Bondi, and kicking things off with the Bondi 9 is pretty cool, but I have historically used them as a walking shoe. On the flip side, one of my ambassadors who is testing out the Bondi 9s for this episode, has been running in the Bondi style running shoe for years, and she loves them. She's done half marathons, 70.3, 10K, 5K, pretty much all of her running has been in the Bondi, whether it's the Bondi 8, the Bondi 7, whatever edition it is. So I thought she would be the perfect person to test out the Bondi 9, and she had a lot to say about these shoes. She's been wearing the Bondi 9s, training for the New York City half, which is in 6 weeks from now. She shared with me that these Bondis definitely feel a lot different than the Bondis that she's been running in, but in a good way. They're lighter, they're more comfy, if that's even possible, and they feel zippier, in her opinion. I took them out for a run, but I can't say how I felt about the Bondis in the past because I've never run in them. But for me, they still feel like a walking shoe. I wouldn't add them to my running quiver because I like to run in lower profile, faster, zippier, lighter shoes. But that's just me. If you're into the comfy, stable, solid ride and you want to get into the Hoka brand, these are for you. And just to give you context about our ambassador and her background as a runner is she is typically running an 11.5, 12.5 minute mile, depending on what event she's doing, and also does triathlon and half marathons like me. Her other go-to shoe is the Nike Alpha Fly. So go figure, they're two totally different shoes, if that helps you in your process of thinking if the Bondi is for you. Also, the Bondis come in a wide and extra wide and are generally a wider shoe, so also not so similar to the Alpha Fly. But anyway, back to the Bondi and my experience walking in these shoes. My first thoughts about the Hoka Bondi 9, just trying them on, walking around in them, and doing some light running in them, is that they are just a completely different shoe. Like they have the stability and the comfort of the original Bondi style, like vertical, but as far as this new shoe, they definitely feel lighter, I could say that. They're still super stable, and I just feel like the whole upper has been redone. It's a new foam in the midsole, so my experience in them running has been different than maybe trying to run in the old Bondis. Personally, I think it's a much improved version of the Bondi category. Still not going to be my go-to running shoe, but I think if you do want a daily trainer that's kind of in that stability, comfy, cushiony shoe range and like that kind of ride, then the Bondi 9 could be the shoe for you. I also think it's a great kind of entry to running, entry to Hoka shoe. It's a good beginner running shoe, especially if you're not like super fast and you have like an average pace. It's a great shoe. The immediate difference that I felt from the old Bondis to the new Bondis is the foam. The foam definitely is more responsive and less like a marshmallow. Your foot is not squishing into the foam. It doesn't have as much absorption of energy, which I kind of like. So I think that's what's making it zippier, having a higher energy return. It's a totally different foam. It's a supercritical EVA, which is like blah, 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 blah to a lot of people, but I'll get into that in the tech specs. It's much firmer, and it's definitely like my favorite Bondi to date. I will say that after getting PRP in my ankle and just generally having to walk around the city and do things, this shoe, this Bondi 9, has been an amazing addition to my running shoe quiver because it has been really comfortable, easy to get my foot into because I was in a lot of pain with the PRP and the area where the injections were, so I didn't really want to have anything pressing on it. It has a wide heel collar. Actually, like if you look at my Bondi 9, they're super worn in and very dirty because I've been walking around and doing everything in them, even my gym workouts in these shoes. I love them for walking and working out. Like I mentioned, I've been wearing them to the gym. Now, I never recommend anyone working out or lifting weights in running shoes because you need to have a firm, stable shoe if you're lifting heavy weights. But these Hoka Bondi 9s have been great because I'm really just using the machines, doing core work. And again, because they're comfortable, they're stable, I don't feel like I'm going to twist my ankle. And they have a lot of breathability in the upper. It's just been a great shoe for me. I don't know that Hoka recommends people working out in them or using them as a fitness shoe, but that's what I'm using them for. All right, let's get into the actual facts, tech specs, and all the details you need to know about these shoes. This famous Hoka Bondi style running shoe is known for its plushiness, its ultra soft max cushion for everyday miles and for the good, in a good way. Anything that maybe people didn't love about the old Bondis, the new Bondi 9 is improved. I'm sure there's lots of room for growth with this style, but right now the Bondi 9, pretty awesome. All right, back to the tech specs. This famous Hoka style, the Bondi, known for its plushness, its ultra comfy cushion, has been completely remodeled. The stack height has increased, the midsole foam is changed, the upper and the heel collar are different, and there is a super durable outsole, the Durabrasion. Hoka added 2 millimeters to the stack. They're using a supercritical EVA foam for the midsole, as opposed to the original EVA foam, which was more squishy, like a marshmallow. New knit upper for a more flexible fit. The stack height of this new Bondi 9 is a 42 millimeter heel, 37 millimeter forefoot for a women's 8 weighing 9.3 ounces. And for men, it's a 43 millimeter heel and 38 millimeter forefoot weighing in at 10.5 ounces for a men's 10. Signature to many of the Hoka shoes, and I don't know if you know this, but most Hoka shoes, with the exception of maybe the Clifton, have a 5 millimeter drop. So the Bondi 9s have a 5 millimeter drop. The upper is engineered mesh, 55% recycled polyester, more breathable and flexible, as I've mentioned, on the foot. There's a 3D molded collar for firmer heel support and an extended heel pull. The midsole is supercritical EVA, smooth meta rocker, so that means smooth heel to toe flow, a molded EVA sock liner. Also signature to the Bondi is the rear foot focused active foot frame. And as the outsole, Durabrasion rubber. When it comes to sizing, the Bondi is available in wide and extra wide, but they're also a wide shoe in general. I got a 7.5, true to my size, but some people like to size up. It depends on what you're using it for. For my race shoes, I usually size up because it is a narrower toe box, and so it just works better for my feet if I size up. But in the Hoka Bondi 9, I got my true size, 7.5. And they feel good. The shoe retails for $170. I actually have here with me today both the Bondi 8 and the Bondi 9. So if you want to look close up at both of them, you'll see that the heel cuff is much wider on the Bondi 9 as opposed to the old one, which was more narrow. Also, it's more defined, the actual heel area, which is the active foot frame, and that is narrower and more molded close to the foot. And you can also see the breathability in the upper. It's definitely a little bit of a wider shoe. And then, you know, the outsole is still the bottom of the shoe. It's still the same pattern that it was before. And if anything, the new shoe is a little wider in the midfoot area, like the center area of the foot. Overall, I think the Bondi as a style has multiple functionalities. Whether you're a runner or you're a power walker, it's a great shoe. You know, again, it's depending on your pace. And, you know, if you're a 12-minute, 14-minute runner, like mile runner, and you want a comfortable shoe, I think this shoe would be great for you. And I feel like that's kind of why it translates over to walking, just because it's definitely a more comfortable, stable, sturdy ride as opposed to something zippy and fast. Overall, I think it's great for walking, great for running. You can even take it to a fitness class, do a workout. Not heavy lifting, but you know, if you're just doing the machines at the gym, it's great. All right, guys, if you like this review, if you have questions, hit me up in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. See you next time on Gear Up.